Welcome back to Sophie and Jumong, part 35. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you won't miss any part. The test results were reassuring. The baby's heartbeat was strong, but her heart hadn't stopped pounding. She had never felt this kind of inner trembling before. She didn't ask to be taken home. "Hilton Windhoek," she said softly. The man met her eyes in the rearview mirror briefly, then gave a simple nod and pulled away from the hospital. Inside the car, Sophie leaned her head against the window, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing the edge of her seatbelt. The dream still lingered, too real, too heavy. The nurse's voice echoed in her memory. "You must avoid stress. Emotional unrest can make things worse." She looked down at her lap and gently rested her hand over her belly. "Just hold on," she whispered to the life inside her. The Hilton Windhoek rose ahead like a crown above the city. Elegant glass, sharp edges, quiet security. Sophie walked into the cool marble lobby and was met with immediate warmth and discretion. The concierge greeted her as if he had been waiting for her all morning. "Miss Sophie," the man smiled with gentle reverence. "Mr. Jumong has prepared everything. The executive floor is ready. Full access, no other guests. Your suite is open and we'll keep your arrival confidential." She managed a grateful nod, unable to speak at first. As the elevator doors closed and lifted her toward the top floor, she felt the noise of the world falling away. Her mind, however, remained a storm of questions, memories, and a tightening gut feeling that something, someone, was against her. The suite was flooded with natural light. The view from the wide windows swept across rooftops, church spires, and far-off hills. A quiet sanctuary in the middle of chaos. Instead, she picked up her phone and called her mother. "Mama?" Her mother's voice came quick and sharp. "Sophie, are you still at the clinic? The driver hasn't returned." "I'm not at the hospital anymore." A pause. "Where are you then?" "I'm at Hilton, the hotel." There was a moment of complete silence. "Sophie, what are you talking about? You should be here. People are asking. Your cousins are starting to prepare the decorations. You said you'd rest at home." "I know, but please, Mama, I'd come here alone, just for a while." The tone in her voice was enough. Her mother didn't ask questions. She simply said, "I'm on my way." 30 minutes later, her mother stepped into the suite with an expression that blended worry, confusion, and protective instinct. Sophie stood to greet her and embraced her silently. Then she led her mother to sit with her on the couch, the city light glinting off the window behind them. "I didn't come here for luxury," Sophie began, her voice soft but steady. "I came because my spirit refused to let me go home. The baby is okay, they found a strong heartbeat, but they said it might be emotional strain." She paused, breathing in, then out. "Mama," her mother's face stiffened. "Sophie, I'm not saying I want to run away," Sophie interrupted gently. "I'll still attend all the meetings. I'll help with the decorations. I'll be visible. But when the sun goes down, I can't sleep in that room. I can't." Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know who in that compound has kept silent anger in their heart, but I know it's there." Her mother reached out and held her hands tightly. She didn't argue. She didn't scold. She simply listened. "Jumong booked this entire floor, for peace, for safety, and now for us. I want to stay here at night, just quietly. I'll return every morning. No one will notice. They'll assume I'm in my room." Her mother finally nodded. "Then that's what we'll do. If your spirit feels danger, we won't argue with it. We'll outsmart it. Quietly." Sophie exhaled and leaned into her mother's embrace. For the first time that day, she felt less alone. By late afternoon, they both returned to the family house together. Sophie changed into a new dress, joined her cousins in folding cloth napkins and arranging tables, and even laughed when one of the little ones tried to chase a goat out of the compound. No one suspected she had been away. Her room door remained slightly ajar, just like she always left it. Even McKenna, who walked past with a cold glance, said nothing. As dusk came and the cousins began retreating one by one, Sophie walked to her mother quietly. "I'll leave in 10 minutes." Her mother nodded. "I'll walk you to the car." The same black SUV pulled up behind the house. Sophie stepped in with her overnight bag and slipped away without a sound. By the time the family finished their late tea, they assumed she had already gone to bed. But Sophie was miles away in spirit. She sat in the hotel suite in a white robe, brushing her hair gently by the window as the city lights twinkled like ancient spirits watching over her. She glanced at her phone. Jumong would be landing soon, and this time he wouldn't find her in fear. He'd find her resting, sheltered, waiting. Across the courtyard, in the section where most out-of-town guests were staying, McKenna sat with her sisters. They were outside under the tin awning, sipping tea and quietly watching the compound's movements. "She hasn't come back to that room tonight," one of them murmured, pretending to adjust her shawl. McKenna's fingers tapped against her cup. "She will," McKenna said slowly. "Let's wait and see. The spirits don't lie." Another sister leaned forward. "What if nothing happens?" McKenna smiled faintly. "It will." Back at Hilton Windhoek, Sophie stood in the center of her hotel suite. For the first time in 3 nights, she felt like she could breathe. She fluffed the pillows on the bed and smiled at her phone. A new message from Gina had just come in. "Gina, we're all packed. See you by evening tomorrow. My heart is jumping. Don't faint from joy." Sophie, typing. "You better not faint from exhaustion. I'm counting down the hours. I love you, Gina." Then she paused. Thought of adding more. Thought of telling her what she'd been through. But she didn't. Instead, she sent a sticker of a heart wrapped in a blanket. She lay back on the bed and wrapped a soft shawl over her arms. Her eyes slowly closed, the city's humming growing fainter. The suite was quiet. No footsteps, no strange sensations. Just peace. She slept deeply. The lock on the door clicked gently. Jumong had landed just after sunrise and instructed the hotel to let him in immediately without knocking. The front desk had already informed him, "Miss Sophie is resting." As he stepped inside the suite, the quiet and soft lighting greeted him, and there, curled under the covers with her face turned toward the window, was Sophie. She hadn't stirred. He placed his bag quietly near the couch and walked over slowly, taking in the delicate curve of her back, the soft breaths rising from her chest. His chest tightened with something between love and concern. He knelt beside the bed and whispered gently, "Sophie." She stirred but didn't open her eyes yet. "Sophie, I'm here." Now she did. Her eyes opened in slow surprise. At first she looked confused, still wrapped in sleep. But when she saw him, her hands flew to his arms, her body leaning into him instinctively, and her voice cracked as she whispered, "You came—" "I had to," he whispered, holding her close. "Something told me. You needed me." And in that moment, Sophie didn't say a word. She simply wept, not out of fear, but out of release. She was no longer carrying it alone. He didn't ask questions. He didn't demand explanations. He simply let her feel. Then suddenly, as if something inside her cracked open, Sophie's breath hitched, and she broke. Tears spilled from her eyes, not out of panic or danger, but the exhaustion of holding it all in. The silence, the pretending, the fear, the ritual talk, the dream, the blood, the secrecy, the longing for him, the pressure of being a bride and an expectant mother in a storm of uncertainty. She couldn't keep it all in anymore. "I don't even know why I'm crying," she whispered through a trembling smile, pressing her fingers against her cheeks. But Jumong knew. He understood. He moved gently onto the bed beside her and wrapped his arms around her shoulders, pulling her softly into his chest. His voice was warm and low. "You're not weak for feeling too much. You're carrying a life, Sophie, and everything around you is spinning. Of course your heart is heavy." She clung to him, breathing in his scent, the steady calm of the only person in the world who made her feel like she could fall apart without shame. "Everything's going to be okay," he whispered into her hair. "I'm here now. I'll take care of you." She nodded slowly against his chest, and a long, fragile silence held between them, the kind that didn't need filling. After a while, Jumong gently leaned back and brushed her face. "You haven't eaten, have you?" "I wasn't hungry," she admitted, wiping her face with the corner of the duvet. He rose and crossed over to the table where room service had left a tray of fresh breakfast fruits, warm pastries, and tea. Sophie looked at the food, and for a moment tears rose again, not because she couldn't eat, but because someone was finally caring for her. She took a bite, nodding slowly, still blinking away the tears. "You're losing weight," he said gently, eyeing her closely. "That's not good." Sophie finally placed the plate down and leaned into his shoulder, calmer now. But she sighed softly. "I have to go back." Jumong looked at her. "I have to be at home, Jumong, at least during the day. I can't let them suspect I'm not sleeping there. But now that you're here, it's easier to breathe." Jumong stood near the grand window of the hotel suite, arms folded loosely as his eyes scanned the lush landscape. The sunlight poured across the treetops, a palette of greens he hadn't expected. Palm trees, jacarandas in bloom, and far-off hills soaked in gold light made Namibia feel like a painting he was only just beginning to understand. He picked up his phone and dialed. "Elias, how close are you to the airport?" Elias's voice cracked through the speaker, energetic. "We're all packed. Gina's excited. Chairman Lee just signed off the documents for the transfer. We should be in the air in a few hours." "Good," Jumong replied. His voice was soft, thoughtful. "You know, it's my first time in Africa. And Elias, it's beautiful. Namibia is beautiful. The air is fresh, and everything outside this window looks like it belongs in a postcard. I haven't gone out yet, but it's strange. I feel like I want to walk through every street." Elias chuckled. "I bet you do. But I can't," Jumong admitted, smiling faintly. "I have to stay low. Wait for Sophie. I'm just watching from inside. It's funny. It feels like I'm trapped in a paradise." Elias laughed again. "Don't worry. We'll be there soon." Sophie quietly slipped back inside. Her steps were soft, her presence unnoticed. With her mother's help, she had returned before anyone could detect she hadn't slept in her room. She blended in seamlessly as if nothing had changed. The compound was already alive with sound. Guests were being served breakfast under the jacaranda trees. Children ran between benches, women clapped their hands to cheerful songs, and distant drums set a rhythmic undertone. In another corner of the house, Aunt McKenna and her sisters sat quietly, a dark undercurrent beneath their calm expressions. "There's been no sign of anything," whispered one of the sisters. "No pain, no confusion. She looks happy." McKenna tightened her jaw. "Give it time." "Are you sure you placed it well?" another asked, her tone sharp. McKenna shot her a glance. "I put it under the bed. She will learn. Disrespecting the aunties from her father's side will bring lessons." But one of the women, slightly older, sighed. "We should have insisted on the ritual. It would have given us power over the situation. Now we've done things we can't undo." "She refused the ritual. This was the only way left," McKenna muttered. They fell into silence as music outside swelled again. Outside, the mood was festive. The villagers had started gathering again. Plates of fruit, tea, and local delicacies were passed around. The air held excitement, heavy with the promise of the coming wedding. Sophie walked among them, smiling, hugging old aunties, answering playful questions about her groom. She was careful with her steps, mindful of her body. Her eyes sparkled, but she moved with a new grace, protecting something unseen. Her phone buzzed in her palm. It was a voice note. "Hey, Soph, it's Lydia. I just saw the invite. Oh, my word, you're getting married in Namibia? Girl, I'm coming. I already booked the ticket." More messages followed. From Tina, from Mavis, from Kiki, from Paulina. Her closest friends from school, from university, even from the charity organization she had volunteered with during her final year. They all expressed joy, support, and excitement. She smiled as she read through their reactions. Her heart warmed. She added a message in the old WhatsApp group. "I can't wait to see you all. Thank you for loving me this much. Wedding is tomorrow. Travel safely." A soft voice brought her back. "Sophie, can I see your Korean wedding dress?" one of her cousins asked, peeking over her shoulder. Another one chimed in, giggling. "And we want to see your Korean photos. You lived in Korea for so long, we want to know how life was there." Sophie smiled. "I'll show you all later after breakfast." The interest in her world was growing, and though her face remained calm, her mind kept alert. She remembered what her mother had said. Do not sleep in that room again. She hadn't, and she wouldn't. Everywhere she walked, Sophie was met with warm smiles and greetings. Children darted through the dusty paths in excitement, and the air smelled of simmering maize porridge, grilled beef, and wildflowers hung from garden fences. She greeted old church members, health workers she had volunteered with before university, and mothers from her youth Bible class. Many of them had known her since she was a child. Now, seeing her returning, not just as a daughter, but a bride-to-be and a doctor, filled them with admiration. "I remember when she used to help measure temperatures at the clinic," whispered one woman to another. "She has not changed," another mother chimed in. "She even helped my son get a bursary for college. May God bless her." A group of village mothers surrounded Sophie near the tree where fresh juice was being served. They told her stories of their children, those who had passed their exams, those who had dropped out. Sophie listened with gentle attention. "I will try," she said softly. "After the wedding, I will work with others and start a small project to sponsor bright students in this community, especially girls." The mothers clapped. Some teared up. Her words landed deep. In this community, a single woman lifting others was not a small act. It was revolutionary. Just then, the village priest, a calm man in his early 60s, arrived with a group of elderly churchwomen dressed in blue and white uniforms. Sophie's mother waved them in. "Let us pray for her," one said. They gathered under a tree, and Sophie knelt at the center as the priest placed his hand gently on her head. "Father, we thank you for this daughter," he said. "She has not forgotten you, and you have not forgotten her. May her home be a light. May her womb be protected. May her heart remain kind." "Amen," they all echoed. In one part of the house, Aunt McKenna sat with two of her sisters, her lips pressed thinly. "Everything is going too well," one of them muttered. "The girl has been clever," said another. McKenna only nodded once. "I told you, I left something under her bed. We'll see if her pride will not humble her before sunset tomorrow. But it seems nothing is happening." McKenna rolled her eyes. "These things take time. She should have respected the ritual." Back in the courtyard, Sophie sat beside the priest after the prayers, wiping a joyful tear from her eye. "I feel peace," she told him. "It is your spirit telling you you've done right," he replied. Then her phone buzzed quietly. It was a message from Jumong. He was at the hotel. She smiled and stood. "I have to go to the saloon," she told her mother and friends. Her mother only gave her a quiet, knowing look, squeezing her hand. She would tell no one else. A black sedan arrived. Instead of turning left toward the market square where the village saloon stood, it turned right, taking her to the 5-star Hilton Windhoek Hotel in the capital, where Jumong was waiting.